Hey gang, Tom of Enduro Wiki here. I want to talk to you about the 2024 Beta 300RR Race Edition. We're going to remove the floppy handguards and go to some wraparound bark busters. Stay tuned and we'll show you how to do it. Ready? Okay, we're going to replace the floppy bark handguards with actual wraparound bark busters from Enduro Engineering. We bought a set of Enduro Engineering. We ordered them in with the black handguards as well. And then we also got a set of SRT threaded bar inserts. It'd be nice if Enduro Engineering would include these, but they do include a set of friction grab ones, but we're not going to even bother with those. We're just going to tap and die ourselves in a set of threaded inserts, and we'll show you how to do that. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to first remove the two bolts holding the floppy on, be up here and down here. We're going to then remove it and get it out away from the bike without hurting any of the electronics or cables. We're going to then take a razor blade and cut the end of the handlebar grip off. They will then start installing the Enduro Engineering bark buster kit at that point. And it looks like we may have to loosen up this bolt and this bolt in order to get it freed up. We're not taking them all the way off, we're just gently loosening them. And that should give us the freedom to pull this out. We'll wait until we have everything back on before we tighten them up and get our hand grip placement correct again. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut into the end of the hand grips. Not sure exactly how far we're going to have to eventually get. Pretty easy to get into the end of the plastic there. What we're actually going to do is, I didn't realize it had a plastic cap around the edge, but since we don't want that to get all boogered up, we're going to take the hand grip off of it and then put it back on after we're done threading and tapping the end of the bar. It's facilitated by loosening the two bolts that are underneath here and here. And then the bar just slides off. And there we go. Tube is exposed. What we have here is a 5/8 11 tap. This is what fits the SRT bar threaded insert pieces. We have a wrench to turn it, a little bit of WD-40 as some lubricant, as we're going to cut some threads in here. Spray a little bit of lubricant in, not too much. Trying to keep it as square and level to the bars as possible. You'll feel it start to bite almost immediately, and it will pretty much get tougher if you're not exactly square and straight with the bars. So right now is when you want to be making sure you're getting as square as you can to the bars. You'll feel it start to get heavy and harder to turn. That's when you have to decide it's time to go backwards and pull it out and clear the chips out. You'll see the chips are going to fall out of the end of the bar, and we're already cutting threads in there properly. So we're going to go in and keep doing this until we have enough threads cut. We want to be very careful so we don't cross thread it. We're going to continue cutting threads until we have enough that we'll be able to put the bar inserts all the way in. Don't be afraid to add a little more lubricant. I don't want to spritz back on you. I just didn't want to hit the lens or anything. Yes, the tap is sharp. It will cut the gloves. It'll cut everything around you. They got some some sharp edges on them. So this may be a little more advanced of a task for most people. The threaded inserts are a much better system. There's nothing wrong, don't get me wrong, there is absolutely nothing wrong with the friction sleeves that you can put in there, but this just holds up a lot better when the bikes get wrapped around and thrown around and flung around, and this is a much more solid way to do this. As you can see, I probably used the smallest wrench I have in the shop. That's a 9mm to get around the edge of this tap. Something with a little more leverage would make it a little easier on me. At some point, we're going to want to blow some air in there and knock some of them chips out. So essentially, we want to make sure that we have enough length in here that we have to bite all the way down in, and that the bar thread inserts go in far enough that there'll be enough clearance. If it's going to stick out a little bit, it won't be the end of the world on this one, because the end of the throttle tube goes over the end, and we'll have to have a little bit of clearance for that. But we're going to have to just estimate on how much of the tap is in there and how much we have left. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it out now. Tight. Pretty much flush with the end of the bar where you want it. So what we're going to do next is we're going to put the throttle back on. We're not going to put it on all the way. What we're going to do is we're going to have to give it a little clearance on the end here so that this doesn't get hung up on the bark buster. That's all the way on. We're going to come off it a little bit so we don't cut into the bars. Okay. Take a screwdriver or anything to burr the inside a little bit. It's plastic. It'll eventually get itself worn and free. Now we're able to put the bark buster on. So we're going to put it on as such. Put the bolt in from there. Start it into your threaded insert. All this has to be done with a little bit of play in it because things are going to firm up and change as you start tightening things down. So everything is kind of loose on here until we get everything situated and homed where it needs to be. That bolt's just started there. We're going to take the bracket clamps here and start them as well. We wrapped a little bit of electrical tape around it. That way we're sure that we're not going to scratch the bars and it gives free when we have a big crash or something. And just get all the bolts started roughly, and then we'll find home for everything. Now we're going to take a 5mm. Now we're going to thread the end of the bar in. We're being very careful so as we don't put any pressure on the actual throttle tube. I'm feeling it starting to bite there, so we may have to loosen up some more things here to make it slide. But we don't want to have any friction between the throttle tube and the bar or the bark buster. Very, very critical that there's no drag happening anywhere in here. And that's where I feel a little bit of drag right now. We're just going to cut the deflectors out. And it looks like they gave us, actual Phillips bolts. Excellent. Actually, those are, and for plastic, these are the machine screws that we actually need. And they look like they have Allen heads on them, so we're going to need those two to thread into the steel bars. There are 2 holes in here that are going to line up with the 2 holes in here. We're going to use the Allen head bolts that are included and an Allen driver. We're going to just start by putting each of them in lightly, and then we'll tighten them down after they're both in and found where they need to be in the second hole. Okay, and that concludes how to install the bark busters on your Beta. The left side will follow the exact same process as the right side, except you don't have to worry about the throttle tube. Everything else is going to be the same with cutting it off and getting yourself access to the end of that bar and being able to put the insert in. Thank you very much.